Good morning, everybody. It's Barb Katie here. It's so good to see you all after a beautiful weekend here in West Virginia. Behind me is the Greenbrier River, where I first learned to fish. It flows into the New River in the Bluestone in the little town in which I grew up in Hinton, West Virginia, down in the midst of the New River Gorge. Home is always very dear and precious to me, and this weekend it's especially so. As all of you know, this was the weekend for Father's Day, and I loved my dad, just absolutely adored him. He was my hero. Was he always calm and collected? No, my dad was not like that. We are a Welsh family, and the Welsh are known for being a little bit passionate about a lot of things. And when they would all get together, it was a noisy, rowdy time. And Dad came from a very large family. He had lots of brothers and sisters, so I had lots of cousins. And we learned the importance of staying together in tough times and the importance of supporting each other no matter what. I was listening as I was reflecting on my dad yesterday to a song by Holly Dunn called Daddy's Hands. And that got me to thinking a lot about what I want to talk to you today. We all need a helping hand. And my dad's hands could be incredibly gentle, especially if I was crying. It just broke his heart if I was crying. But his hands could be really stern if I had done something wrong. The only thing that I always knew was there was always love in my father's hands, and that was very important to me as a child. Another thing that I realized quite a few years ago, my brother and sister, one time when we were talking, stopped in the middle of a conversation, and they said, "Do you realize you have mother's hands?" And I had never given it any thought, but when I looked down at my own hands, indeed, my hands were like my mother's. They are shaped like them. The nails grow like my mother's hands. I use my hands in the same way my mother used her hands. And as my boys would tell you, sometimes I used my hands in a very stern way. They used to call my index finger the mother finger, because if they had done something wrong, that finger would come up and sort of say to them, "Whoa, boys, you need to pause. You need to take some time here." Hands reflect so much of what you're thinking and feeling. Hands give hugs. They give handshakes. They hold each other tenderly at times. They can even rebuff people at times as well. And your hand becomes a way of expressing yourself non-verbally that you're probably not even aware of. Then the very word itself has particular meaning, and it combines with a host of other words, with especially with prepositions, and makes entirely new words. Some of the things I was thinking of when I was getting ready to talk to you today are the different words that have a root word in them of hand. You can start with handful. At various times growing up, I'm sure, like most parents, my parents said, "Boy, our Bran is a handful." That wasn't exactly a compliment. It meant that I was an incredibly active, inquisitive child that was known to get into stuff. They also pretty much gave me a free hand to explore the world in which I lived, which was wonderful at that time. It was a different time to grow up, a different community in which to grow up. And there was not a lot of hand wringing because the environment in which we grew was pretty safe for all of the children that lived there. Then I got to thinking, okay, that being said, what about underhanded comments? And I thought, boy, those can really chop you off at the knees. An underhanded comment that is sort of like a veiled insult. And I think we've all experienced that at one point or another. Also, the word unhand, like leave me alone, don't push. And sometimes we need that. We need to just have everyone back up and let us figure things out for ourselves right now. To use that ability we have innately to figure out what is best for us. And that's a hands-on task. Something that we have to do ourselves is to figure out what we're doing. First-hand experience is probably the best teacher in most things that we do. You can't always gain the knowledge second-handed. You have to, in fact, experience for yourself. Learn your lessons, live through the process. And sometimes you have to barehanded. You need sometimes to stand alone. I know I was talking with some TOPS members over the weekend about being mindful and in the moment in what we do. And sometimes we just have to stand up and take responsibility for what we're doing. To say, this is on me, this is my choice, I own this, I'm going to learn from this. And if you'll help me, if you'll hold out your hand, I will take it and we will move forward together. But I need to learn as I go. There's also expressions if you play tennis, like having a good backhand or a strong forehand. And there are many ways to approach any solution, and no one way is right. And you've got to take matters into your own hand and figure out what is going to work best for you in this particular circumstance. When I was thinking about hand, 4 expressions came to mind. The first one was hand out. I don't need a handout. I really don't. I'm asking for help and support, but I'm not asking for anybody to do it for me, because no one can do this journey for me. It's sort of like the old adage we grew up as kids knowing about: teaching a child to fish, and he will feed his family for a lifetime. And that's the way it is here. I don't want you to give me a mess of fish to cook for dinner. I want you to teach me how to fish. I don't want a handout. The second thing that I got to thinking about was handing over. What am I willing to hand over to other people? Can I allow people to help me? Can I hand over some of the things with which I am struggling and get their help and support? I don't want to hand over the responsibility for the actions that I'm making, because I have to be accountable. If I'm going to mindfully pursue my mission, which is to get as healthy as possible, then I have to take ownership of what I do. The next thing is to acknowledge that I really need a hand up sometimes. I need people who are willing to help me over the rough spots, because we all have rough spots. The biggest illustration of that comes into my mind is I was blessed to go to a Tops Retreat cruise in Jamaica. And there was a place there called Dun River Falls. It was a pretty steep waterfall, but it was climbable if you were careful, and the water poured down the waterfalls as you climbed. And a bunch of us from Tops went over to take on this challenge and this adventure. And it was amazing because we were all ages, all shapes, all sizes, and we came to realize almost in the very first step we took that we needed a hand up. None of us could do it by ourselves. All of us needed to reach out our hands and help empower each other to make their own journey. Did we choose different footing? Yes, we did. Did we choose slightly different pathways? Yes, we did. But the one thing that everybody did was reach out a helping hand to support each other. And it was amazing. The stronger, more fit ones sometimes gently stood beside those who were struggling and really and truly supported them through a high step that needed to be made in order to continue the journey. Sometimes people went off course and others went to them and helped them find their way back onto the path that they could travel toward their success. And when all was said and done, all of us that had started the journey up the falls made it to the top. And we would not have done so if we had not done it together. It was one of the more profound experiences I've had in Tops. Soaking wet, wonderful smiles, excited about the fact, not that any one of us had made the trip, but that all of us had made the trip because we had tried to work it out together. And that to me is probably the greatest strength Tops has to offer to any of us, is the ability to support each other through all the obstacles that we face in this journey and help us learn for ourselves how to handle the things that come our way and tend to want to block our progress. And I think this morning, this is going to be maybe a little bit brief, but I'd like to close with this thought for you to take with you as you go about your day today. It's a closing that many Tops chapters use in their meetings, and if you know it, say it along with me if you would like. You take my hand and I'll take yours, and we'll start out today. Because a helping hand is what we need to guide us along the way. The road to goal is a rocky road. We need someone to care. So reach out, my friend. Take my hand. And then we're almost there. You have an awesome day, and my helping hand is always reached out for you whenever you need it. Love you dearly. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.